right, so today on the Soundiron podcast, we are going to talk about some new AI stuff, of course. We're going to talk about Granny Piano. We're going to talk about one of my favorite YouTubers, Potato Jet. We're going to talk about Valentine's Day and what I should do for my wife. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl yesterday and most romantic movie scores. Craig, are you ready?
So ready.
So, kicking it off here, have you seen the Adobe Podcast AI synthesizer restoration machine?
A little bit. That video you sent me the other day, I was watching the one from Jeff Manchester Music.
I really just wanted to ask you about Manchester music so that you could do an impression.
Hey everyone, it's Jeff Manchester Music. Bring it in, pull it in,
Right.
push it back, hit that subscribe button. Yeah, I like his videos. He's a cool dude.
Yeah, he doesn't post enough. It's the thing.
It's because he's doing that isotope hustle.
It's because he's busy. Yeah, that's fair enough. So the Adobe Podcast thing is in beta, and basically just upload a WAV or MP3 file and tell it to restore, and it will synthesize information just guessing in the waveform. So it will remove background noise and do a lot of like RXE style stuff, but it will also, if you have like missing information in the noise, it will add info based on what else it's seeing in the visual.
That's crazy.
And so what that means is if there's not a lot of information, like if you're recording from your iPhone mic, from across the room, then it could potentially make you sound like a robot voice.
Yeah, because I think in that video he was showing some examples of recording with his phone and then also recording with like a nice condenser mic kind of thing.
Yeah,
which is really interesting because the comparisons were pretty close, which was kind of blew my mind. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, so his thumbnail said the end of mics, and it was like, are we not going to use microphones in the future, or like nice microphones in the future, because we have, our pocket microphones, and Adobe can clean our stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would say to that is, not everybody wants to keep an Adobe account.
Yeah, I don't, I don't think there'll ever be like an end to that. It's kind of like people saying like, will DSLRs ever just go away because camera phones are getting better and better with like, like, oh, this phone's got 5 different cameras and it has like all this, crazy stuff that it can do. But I think there's always going to be that sort of like level of professionality. Like you're not going to like show up to a filming gig, like if I was going to like film an interview, the last thing I want to do is, all right, so here, let me go ahead and set you up. I got this nice camera right here. And they're like, whoa, wait, that's an iPhone. It's like, oh, no, but it's got 5 cameras built in. It looks great. Like there's something about, showing up with certain types of gear. Not to say that it's like, oh, look, I got a DSLR. So, I know what I'm doing.
Sure.
You still got to know how to use the tools. But yeah, I think, it's the same thing with, like miking, like, I'm going to mic this acoustic guitar or something, like, and you bust out your iPhone. Oh, I could just restore it with some AI technology. It's all good. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you mean. People have definitely not accepted phones as like professional technology. But on the other hand, Steven Soderbergh shot a whole movie on iPhone just to prove a point, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I not to say that can't be used for that, especially if you're doing kind of like run and gun style. I mean, because like, especially if you have good to decent lighting, you can get a lot out of an iPhone.
That's the thing, is lighting is so important, and audio. If you have lighting and audio in a good spot, like people forgive bad video or subpar video. Like, oh, that they're not necessarily noticing like, oh, the shadows are not quite there, or like the highlights are a little blown out.
Yeah, or there's like kind of like noise, video noise and stuff, because it's like not good in low lighting or something, or that, because that's another thing too. Like, if you have cameras that have like a lower f-stop, it's a little bit easier to,
way easier
get away with bad lighting. Like even like filming in here, like it's relatively dark, but having that sort of like, Yeah, my bat cave. It's like having a little bit lower of an f-stop helps with just being able to work in a lower lighting situation. Even though I do have like a big like LED light right here.
But
Actually,
then,
I forgot to turn this light on actually.
oh, nice.
Well, come on, man. What am I doing? Speaking of lighting, I forgot to turn one on.
But then when you like when you go wide open, then you miss focus. So
Yeah, yeah. So you gotta, it's one of those things too. You can play around with that to get certain effects and stuff, especially if you're doing that kind of like the bokeh sort of thing.
yeah,
Especially if you're doing like product photography and stuff like that. Having that nice kind of depth of field helps.
I totally agree. So I am going to try this Adobe Podcast AI Sense stuff while it is in beta and it's free because it's interesting to me and I might apply it on this podcast audio right here.
Nice.
But the next thing is the Super Bowl. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did not.
I didn't either, but I watched the halftime show today as I do. It was 13, almost 14 minutes long. And
Mhm.
Rihanna came out of her musical retirement to perform. She hasn't performed live in 5 years.
Hmm.
And it's crazy. I was reading the statistics after an artist does the Super Bowl, their streams skyrocket.
Oh, I believe it.
So when Shakira uh, performed, it was like 200x. Just crazy numbers.
Get a
So,
nice little payday. Get paid doing the Super Bowl,
yeah,
and then you get paid by Spotify.
but just fractions of a penny, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like those guys. I mean, dude, the other day I saw the artist Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
Dude, he monthly gets like over 65 million listeners.
Wow.
That's ridiculous. So dude's getting paid. Especially if you have that many listeners. Who knows how many times they're streaming?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's it's definitely it all funnels to the top like 3% of artists making all the money.
Yeah, they're the ones taking all the cheese,
All the cheddar.
all the
So
cheddar.
speaking of food, Potato Jet is one of my favorite YouTubers. And I sent you a video of his where he made a TV background and it
Oh
looks
yeah, yeah.
like
I
a
thought that was neat.
window.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that seemed right up your alley, to be honest, because you're living in a cave. You
Mm-hmm.
if you have any windows in there, you're covering them up. And
Yeah,
so,
there's actually a window here and here, but I masked them with acoustic treatment
right,
because I'm like, doing video and stuff you know, every week.
at least.
Yeah, just being able to control the lighting and stuff. That's the nice thing about it is like I don't ever have to worry about like if it goes like overcast, like
Yeah,
the video looking different or something like that. So it's just more for controlling the lighting, especially using like colored lights and stuff.
yeah.
Really helps with being able to keep all that nice. And I actually have another window behind my computer right here, but that's covered with like a blackout curtain.
So you really are in a cave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, the cool thing is I could take these off. Like they're
yeah,
just
of
literally
course.
wedged between other acoustic treatment, but chances of that happening are very slim.
Yeah, when you take your vacation.
Yeah.
Well, he kind of did the same thing that you're doing with that monitor sitting vertical, but he just put it against the wall and then draped some curtains and he put three big TVs side by side and it just looks like a big window, like a
Hmm.
expensive window. And he just put a bunch of like prop backgrounds. And
Yeah.
you should definitely, if you're interested in video at all, you should subscribe to Potato Chip.
Yeah, I've come across his videos off and on throughout the years, just whenever I would YouTube different, different types of like video tutorials and stuff, or like, especially in the early days when I was trying to learn like color grading or what kind of lenses should I use, or checking out reviews of different lenses and cameras and stuff like that. Like him, who's that other guy? He makes really good videos. Dun 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 dun. Uh, Gerald and Dunn.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Dun
yeah.
dun. Gerald and Dunn. Dun dun dun. He's crazy.
Perfect. Nice,
Yeah, but yeah,
nice.
he has like nerd out videos where he'll just like go into like all this different stuff and like compare different things, like super detailed stuff. So it's
Yeah,
like,
he basically gives you more information than you could ever possibly want to know about a lens, is what he does.
yeah, you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, but okay,
So buy it or don't buy it.
you either buy it or you don't buy it. It's one or the other. You can't do both, right?
No, Gerald on the Dunn seems like a good dude, and I like his videos as well. But Potato Jet is much more entertaining, and I've bought a drone and 2 cameras based on his recommendations. So he is a salesman. So if you're not in the market, don't be watching.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. With YouTube, you get the interest to check something out. More than likely, you're going to find a video that's going to probably try to coerce you into buying it. You're like, damn, I feel like I need this now.
Speaking of, Granny Piano just came out.
Yeah, and if you don't have that, you should get it.
Yeah,
It's only $19.
you're messing up if you don't have it. So, Old Busted Granny Piano is the first piano that Mike Peasley, the master sample designer, recordist, recorded. And this is Chris's grandma's piano. It's a non-brand, just sitting in her house for years and years, collecting dust, nasty. Keys are broken. It's in bad shape. And of course, the fellas are like, the best thing we could possibly do is record every single note.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Granny Piano. So the original came out in like 2011, and we just updated it. We gave the old girl the old cleaning,
Mm-hmm.
and gave it a new GUI and some new custom effects presets and ambient pads. And if you're looking for that rundown upright sound with rickety keys and a weird sustain pedal noises, this is it. This is the one for you.
Yeah, that like one of the things that I was talking about in the walkthrough was using the entertainer, because
Oh
that's one
yeah,
of the demos, and I thought it'd be cool to show it off in that way. Because I mean, we have the drinking piano, which also has a little bit of that, but it's got like its own character. So this has like its own kind of flavor to it, and it's very like you know Soundiron nostalgia at this point. It's like
yeah.
it's got that OG sound. But yeah, it's really cool, and it has a very distinct sound, especially for that kind of style.
And
Just
especially if you do the untuned version, it is like
mhm.
75 cents flat or something like that.
Yeah, it's like when you play the tuned and the untuned together,
Yep.
it just sounds like it's like almost like shy of like a semitone,
You're in a
which is like
your horror environment straight up.
yeah, it's just like just ready for that. But yeah, it's really cool. And yeah, there's a lot of really cool custom effects presets and the ambiances, and yeah, just like the new user interface like just makes it
Much more usable.
yeah.
It needed a facelift. I would say that the drinking piano smells like beer, and the granny piano smells like cats.
Yeah, it smells like cats and mothballs.
Laugh wolves.
Yeah.
Very dusty. They're both nasty in their own way.
Yeah, it's got that, it has that feeling of, going to your grandma's house, and, she's got some muffins in the oven and cat hair all over the couch.
Yep.
So if you want that sound in your piano, you know where to go.
You might need it. So the next thing is growing on YouTube. So I found this dude. I've been watching his videos for a little bit, and I might try to get him on the pod. But his name is Jameson Nathan Jones, and maybe I like him because we share a name. But
I'm starting to think there's a bias here.
I'm
No, I'm
definitely biased toward Nathan's. But he said, I spent a year trying to grow on YouTube, and here's what I learned. And he spent a lot of time editing this video, and he has 10,000 subscribers, and he basically grew them over the past year, which is no small feat. I don't know if you've ever done YouTube, but like I spent some time doing my own little YouTube videos, and I think I have 150 subscribers. So it's hard. It
It's
takes
a
a
yeah.
lot of work, and
Oh yeah.
what sounds fun at the beginning is not fun 6 months in. So you do have to figure out some sort of sustainable pace for yourself and how much work and time is going to go into each video. And
Mhm.
he spends a lot of time talking about the emotional roller coaster of progress at the beginning and view count going up, and then you hit the wall and you get discouraged, and then you have the trolls and the haters, and
Mhm.
it's very lonely. It's a very lonely existence. You don't have
Yeah.
anybody saying, "Hey, you should finish editing that," right? Or it's done now, so let's kick it out the door.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, like, when I started a YouTube channel, shoot, back in, like, 2016, 2017, or something like that, it was just a means of, putting my music out there because I
Yeah.
was working on a solo record at the time and just, like, filming playthroughs and stuff, and, because I was inspired by other guys, like, there's a dude named Keith Marrow and, like, Ola England, and they did a lot of, like, metal sort of like guitar playthroughs, but also like gear reviews and stuff like that.
Uh,
And that's kind of how I started getting into that. And I think that's probably one of the easier ways of kind of getting into that YouTuber journey. Because there's always, like we were talking about earlier about, like Potato Jet and these guys who are like reviewing gear. Like there's always people looking for that.
oh yeah.
The new thing comes out, everyone's gonna be looking at like, oh, I want to like hear how this sounds, or they have certain YouTube people that they follow, they like their personality or like how, their videos look, like the production quality and how it sounds and all that. So like that's how I kind of got into it and just, doing reviews and all that.
And it's great practice for what you do now.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually what led me led me to where I am now. But yeah, it's like, you watch old videos and you're just like, oh, because it takes a while to kind of find your groove, especially when you're first like, all right, I'm setting up my camera. Cause actually, speaking of like with iPhones, like this is not this phone in particular, I actually had a way older phone, like an iPhone 7 or something. And that's what I used to use
Yeah.
for filming all my YouTube videos. I didn't have a DSLR. I didn't get a DSLR until I started doing videos for Soundiron.
Dude,
So I was like,
you
damn,
didn't know what you didn't know is the thing. So you didn't know that the iPhone 7 wasn't the top of the top, right?
that's all I had. I didn't have money for anything else.
Yeah, you
So I was
just
just like,
used what you had.
yeah, because there's that moment where you feel like you need to like level up
I know.
gear wise. I mean, I've been playing guitar for a long time, so it's like I can easily justify like, should I get this new guitar? Because I've already invested all the time in like learning it. So it's like kind of like, oh, okay, it's sort of part of what I already do. But when you're doing something kind of as a hobby thing, like, because I wasn't trying to go full YouTuber or nothing, it was more or less like to kind of, you know, a means of putting myself out there and reviewing gear. Because it's like the cool thing about that is usually, you'll get like a free copy or something, or if it's something that I bought and I wanted to like do a video on it or something because I thought
Yeah.
it was worth sharing. But yeah, it's a little bit harder to justify like dropping, $1,000 or almost $1,000, 8 to 1,000 on a new camera when you're like, I don't know, is this like, can I justify this purchase? But I mean, if you're going hard, then yeah, you're like, well, this is what I want to do. So it's easier to like invest in that. But yeah, that's the cool thing about phones now is like, if you're just getting started and you want sort of like a low cost and you already
No
got it.
shots. Mhm.
Yeah.
So this was before you had colored lights.
And no colored lights.
Yeah.
I used to I used to have a green screen as well.
No kidding.
I used to play around with that. I had this like 4x6 green screen because I was like, I didn't really have like the best setup. I mean, it was like later on I started doing more on camera stuff when I had my kind of like home studio sort of setup, and I started getting more into like decor and stuff like that. But it's just an evolution. Like, it's funny. Like the first setup I ever had, it was literally just like an old like HP computer, like sitting on a box on like this like rickety like desk.
Right.
But yeah, you got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere, man. Well, I'm glad you kept going.
But yeah,
Uh,
YouTube is a grind though.
it is a grind. You gotta pick your relationship. Choose your relationship with YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of relationships, Valentine's Day is this week, and my wife said she's looking forward to all the stuff I have planned. I was hoping that maybe you had some ideas.
Oh wow. She just threw it on you.
Yeah, I said, well, as equal partners in the relationship, I was looking forward to what you had planned.
It's like, just stay home, watch a little TV, make some dinner.
But it did make me think about some of the most romantic movie scores. And so I looked up some lists, and the top one on several lists was the Pride and Prejudice soundtrack by Dario Marianelli.
Hmm.
And I don't know, you probably haven't watched that movie, but
I have not.
I have. And it is a very romantic solo piano kind of deal.
Hmm.
Um, it's definitely worth listening to the score.
Nice. So for Valentine's Day, you're gonna write her a romantic score.
I think that's my only option at this point.
Yeah, I think you just write a score, and you guys can listen to it, and then she'll say, "I didn't really like that key change right there. I think you could have did a little better. I don't think you care about me as much as you say you do."
Right. It
And
wasn't
then,
long enough.
yeah, like, "Oh, that's it? An hour?
It's going to
How
be a
dare
long
you?"
night tonight. We're recording this the night before Valentine's Day. So I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I think it's always nice to, if you can, like, try to do something you haven't done, or go out and just have a night out on the tan, do some
Clubbing.
bowling.
Oh, bowling. Okay.
I
Because
would
I'll,
probably like go play pool or something.
nice. Speaking of writing a score, have you watched the new Avatar yet?
I have not. I haven't even seen the first one.
Oh, right. Didn't we talk about this?
We might have.
Okay, so
I
you need to see the Blue People movie. I haven't seen the
Oh, the
second one yet.
Smurfs. I've seen the Smurfs. Yeah.
Oof, not the Smurfs. Down
What
bad.
about Blue Man Group? No. Get out
Uh,
of here.
this is going downhill real fast. So Simon Franklin was a friend of composer James Horner,
Hmm,
and he helped to co-write on the original Avatar movie. And he was an arranger, and he wrote, I believe, all the non-orchestral parts of Avatar
hmm,
1. So I listened to a podcast with him, and he he talked about when Avatar was a hit, they were like, hey, you're definitely going to do a second one. And they're like, okay. And they were like, clear your schedule for 2013 or whatever. And
hmm,
then James Horner died in 2015. He still hadn't
hmm,
even started doing anything with the movie. And so so James Cameron was like, I think you're up for writing the score. So Simon Franklin wrote this second movie score, and he used some of the original themes from James Horner, but
hmm,
he also had the chance to do some of his own work, which was cool.
hmm,
And he talked about, on a podcast I listened to, he talked about making instruments that the blue characters would play. And so
hmm,
they're like massive creatures, and they have really long fingers.
hmm,
And so they made like a lot of woodwind instruments that would be like sized for this big creature.
hmm.
And James Cameron is a very passionate guy about doing everything, like taking it to the max.
Yeah.
And so they made like real playable instruments for these larger than life characters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Franklin also wrote the score for Pandora, the World of Avatar, which is the theme park attraction based on the film.
Oh, okay.
He added that he was able to design unique Pandoran musical instruments for the film, which was one of the unexpected delights. They were 3D printed by the art department and the props team. And so he was tasked on bringing new textures, voices, and elements to the score, adding, the sea is integral to many of the themes and motives in my score. Light, ebb and flow of waves, and the connection of the Na'vi characters in the movie with the water were all inspirations.
Hmm.
So he got to record at the Newman scoring stage at 20th Century Studios and with a 100-piece orchestra. And he got to bring a Tenebrae choir ensemble from London and Pacific Islands choral music. And the scale of the music mixing exceeded 1,000 tracks.
Wow. It's a lot of
So
tracks.
it's pretty wild, man. And the score is really cool. I haven't watched the movie yet. Like I said, I'm going to for sure
Hmm.
when I have 3 hours to dedicate. But the score is really nice, and I loved the first score as well.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it must be an honor for him to be the one to kind of come in and do the score for that.
Oh yeah, like kind of stand in James Horner's shoes a little bit.
Yeah. I'd be a little nervous, like, oh man,
Yeah,
especially if it's like got some shoes to fill.
exactly. Critic reviews are like very positive. Johnny Oleksinski wrote, Pandora also continues to be brought to life through music that, while composed this time by Simon Franklin, still bows to the wondrous work of the late James Horner. So the movie is like 3 hours and 10 minutes. And he said he basically wrote 3 hours of music for it.
Damn.
So it's
So
like
it's just
wall to wall.
front to back.
Yeah, he was like, he said, James Cameron gave me a few minutes of silence, and I appreciated it.
I know. Imagine like the spotting session for that one. Like, all right, so it's going to start off before it fades into this scene. Music's already playing, and then at the very end of the movie's like, all right, so now the music stops. He's like, so yeah, I'll pretty much just do music for the whole thing. Can you
Right?
do that? He's like, I think the spotting conversations had more to do with where there was not music.
Exactly. He's like, all right, we want a tiny bit of silence right here.
Yeah,
And other than that, you're good to go. Just score it wall to wall.
yeah,
And speaking of award winning scores, this year the Grammys had the first time best score soundtrack for video games and interactive media. And so you had people like Bear McCreary and Austin Wintory.
yeah. So the winning score, which is actually a score that I actually really like. I haven't played the game, but it's for Assassin's Creed. Is it Assassin's Creed Valhalla? But yeah, it's I think it's off that whole like Valhalla series or based around the different like
Yeah,
Valhalla
you
tip.
were right. Yeah, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Dawn of Ragnarok.
Yeah, it's a really good score, and it was composed by Stephanie Ikonomu, and it's really cool. Like she's actually done some stuff with Harry Gregson Williams, and seems like she's been coming up in the composer world.
Okay. So what's the music like? It's is it Viking?
Yeah, it's very like Nordic Viking stuff. Like she actually had Einar Selvik on there who plays in Wardruna, and if you've seen like Vikings or anything basically Nordic music, that dude's probably got his finger in it somewhere. And yeah, it's a really good score. It just it has all the things you would expect from a video game based around that. Because yeah, the even like I think the first Assassin's Creed Valhalla, he did some stuff on there too. But yeah, it's a really good score, and it's cool that the Grammys are acknowledging things like that, because especially the importance of music, not only just in film or just music by music artists. you know a lot goes into video game music, and it's almost treated about the same as like with film scores and just movies in general. So that's
Yeah.
cool that it's getting acknowledgement in that way.
Yeah.
you know
I mean, it's really hard work. It's definitely an art form, and it people have worked really hard to get that to be an award in the Grammys.
yeah, so that's really cool. And yeah, that's a great score, so that's cool that she won.
I'm gonna have to listen to it now.
You're gonna have to.
So instrumentation wise, it's like a lot of strings and drums, not a lot of
Yeah.
synthesized stuff.
um there's actually some guitar in there too, which is pretty interesting. Like the very first song on there actually has some like electric distorted guitar,
Okay.
which is pretty cool. So yeah, it's not like 100% true Norse music, because obviously you know they didn't have electric guitars back then.
Right.
But yeah, it's cool. Like there's a lot of unique elements and like sound design and like cool atmospheric stuff, you know, percussion and all the of course like orchestral stuff. But it's really good score, definitely worth listening to, especially if you like that kind of stuff, which I do.
It cranks all over that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that wraps us up, so we can move on to recommendations. And
Recommendations.
I don't know if you have any recommendations, but I was gonna recommend Chill Hop Beat Tapes. This is Evil Needle X Misha, and it's instrumental chill hop. If you're, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that or not, but basically it's just like work office vibes of relaxing, but with a steady beat. And it's usually like hi-hats are dragging and kind of doing like a Dilla similar to that, with lots of synths, guitar, and it's very relaxed and keeps me working.
Yeah, that's actually something I recently started listening to because someone who I'm friends with on Facebook was talking about how like he likes listening to like video game scores while working, which is something I usually do.
Uh,
That's usually what I'm listening to most of the time. Like it's like if I'm listening to metal stuff, it's usually when I'm doing cardio or if there's like a new album or something. But yeah, he was mentioning yeah, also like listening to a lot of like lo-fi stuff.
yeah,
And I was like, oh, I should check that out. And yeah, and it's very nice to have in the background because it's just it's not really much going on. It's very just you know very chill.
very chill
Yeah,
and very
because
hop
I don't really like working in silence. It just feels kind of weird.
in the
Usually, I
cave.
always have something in the background, either like podcast or an interview or just something just to kind of be in the
Yeah.
background.
My other recommendation that I have just started is the Founders Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude is like a just ferocious reader, and he reads like a book a week at least, and then does a
Oh.
podcast on his notes on the book.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll mostly do biographies and autobiographies, but he'll just talk about like John D. Rockefeller or James Dyson or Rothschild, or like the list goes on, Jeff Bezos, um, any sort of founder, entrepreneur,
Warren Buffett.
the Warren Buffett for sure, investor, uh, anyone he finds interesting, even like bad people, like people who are not popular but they got
Mm-hmm.
famous or rich. Somehow he'll read their biographies and then take notes on like where they went wrong, and it's a great podcast.
You're like he was doing all right, and then he started killing people.
It's a lot of
That's
drugs.
yeah.
Substances are not your friend.
So he probably does like Pablo Escobar.
Yeah. He's like, so he was very charismatic, and here's where he went wrong.
Yeah, got into the drug trade.
The
Started
hippos
killing
were a
people.
bad idea.
Yeah, I got to check that one out. I remember you were telling me about that one. Yeah, I've been listening to some different ones. Like that Andrew Huberman. Huberman.
Yeah, Andrew Huberman for sure.
Yeah, because I recently started checking out his stuff because I've been sort of re-upping my knowledge in like working out and like bodybuilding and exercise stuff. And I saw one that he did with Jeff Cavalier from Athlete X,
Yeah,
which, speaking of recommendations, if you're getting into any kind of fitness stuff and you want to learn some get some knowledge dropped on you, that dude, because he's a physical therapist and
uh,
and shredded, so obviously he knows what he's doing. But I like the way that he talks about fitness and muscle groups and stuff. Like sometimes he'll bust out like a magic marker and like draw on his arm like your muscle fibers are like this, so you need to do these types of exercises, like, or debunking other ones that aren't as good.
yeah.
Like he was talking about the upright row
Mhm.
and how like you don't even really get like full um you know
Range of motion.
yeah, and he was showing one where you can use dumbbells and kind of like instead of pulling up you bring your knuckles all the way back and it
Woof.
pretty much hits like all three heads of your deltoid, which is pretty cool. Like I think like a little bit of the rear delt, but mostly like the front and the side. But yeah, like that kind of stuff is really cool. Like sometimes I'll just have that stuff playing in the background too. Like hopefully I'm just like subconsciously getting it. Sometimes it's kind of hard to focus on all the details, but when I'm like watching, like there's a lot of good stuff. But
Yeah, you're hoping to learn by osmosis. Yeah, I would. Athlete X is awesome, and that's a perfect example of somebody who's just been grinding on YouTube because he's been posting for like 10 years, dude.
yeah,
It's
I'm just like,
crazy.
damn, like how do you keep thinking of new stuff? Because like it's funny actually, the YouTube recommendations.
Yeah.
I was looking up something for like shoulder workouts, and then two of his videos, one from like 3 years ago, which is like how to work out your shoulders the best using dumbbells only, and then like right above it there was a video that was 2 years ago, dumbbell only, best ways to work out your shoulders. It's like a probably like a little bit of an update, maybe like showing some different stuff or whatever, but a lot of it too is trying to find new things to talk about, because it's like
Well,
when you're
yeah.
there's only so many muscles that you can
Well, I mean, you're definitely repackaging content, and you're doing your best viewed video. So like your highest, most popular video from 2014, you can do again in 2018 with better lighting and better setup, and hopefully there's some new data or science behind it that you can talk about. But
yeah.
a lot of it is what's most popular is probably going to work again.
hmm Yeah, that one's a cool one. You know what I've actually been watching lately? Well, I've watched season one, but the Your Honor show.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if
Bryan
you've watched
Cranston.
that.
I
Yeah,
haven't.
dude, season two is good. I mean, season one's really good too, but like I love the drama in that show. Like it's just like one of those things. Like I wouldn't compare it to Breaking Bad, but it's s- uh shoot, even sometimes it feels even a little bit more kind of like that feeling of dread when you're watching it. Like Breaking Bad had, some moments, but like this show's not like funny at all. Like
Okay,
it's just like
dark.
you just see everything like slowly getting to a point where it's like, oh my God, this isn't gonna end well. But yeah, if anyone hasn't seen that show, you should definitely check that out. It's on Showtime. But if you have like Paramount Plus or most even Hulu, like you can get like a little, probably like a Showtime extension.
Conan O'Brien had Bryan Cranston on his podcast, and he was talking about Your Honor, and he was like, I really like season one, and he was like, I didn't really know how you were gonna make a season two, honestly, and I wasn't really
hmm
excited about season two, but then I heard the premise, and I'm in. So
He's like, I'm in, man. Yeah. Oh yeah. Speaking of the Super Bowl, did you see that Popcorners commercial that they did with the Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul?
no,
Yeah, they did like a Breaking Bad commercial for Popcorners, because I guess the ad writers are big fans of Breaking Bad. So
nice.
they had this idea of doing a sort of like a spin-off of Breaking Bad, but instead of making meth, they're making Popcorners snacks, and it's the
That's
white cheddar.
that is
That's what
bold.
they had. Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty funny. He's
I'm
just
gonna
like,
have to
"Yo,
watch that.
Mr. White, this is like the best snack I've ever had." And then they're all like talking to Tuco, and he's like doing his thing. But yeah,
Dude,
it
wow,
was pretty funny. That's the only thing Super Bowl related that I saw, because I'm not a big
dude,
football.
I hope they got the bag, and not just popcorners either. I hope they got paid.
I'm pretty sure they got a little something. They probably get like a lifetime supply of snacks. I'd be down for that. Like, I'll do it for the snacks.
Don't sell yourself too short, Craig.
Pay me with popcorners.
And on that note, we will wrap this podcast here. Thank you so much for listening. If you're still here and you haven't subscribed, please fix that immediately. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Craig?
Leave us a review and tell us how silky our voices sound.
Yeah, especially Craig's.
Oh yeah.
Check out Granny Piano. Old Busted Granny Piano for $19. It is on sale now. You will like it.
We hope so. Listen to the demos.
Yeah, listen to The Entertainer.
Yeah, I wish I could play that, but I can't.
Dude, it just takes practice. Just watch it on YouTube, learn it by osmosis.
Learn it by osmosis. Boom, boom, boom.
All right, Craig, I'll catch you next week, my friend.
Until next time, adios.
Peace.
Peace.